Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from a throwaway account and it says, "Am I the arsehole for taking away my wife's access to our money? I've been married to my wife, Ashley, for 7 years. I'm the only one that works. Ashley spends her time volunteering at a charity she started. I'm fine with this as I make enough for both of us. In financial decisions, we have equal say. I will admit that I am the numbers nerd of the relationship, so I do the budget and handle our investments. My wife has equal input into the budget. We both have to agree on it. Like many people, we're saving for retirement and a couple of other financial goals. Ashley's sister and her family are going through a lot of financial issues at the moment. My brother-in-law lost his job and my sister-in-law is reaching out to my wife for help. They're asking for us to cover their monthly expenses. I said no. While we have some discretionary money, we don't have that much. Both my wife and I get fun money to spend however we wish each month. I told my wife that I would match whatever amount of her fun money she wants to give her sister from my fun money. My wife doesn't want to do that. She says that won't be enough money. She wants us to reduce the amount we are saving each month to help her sister. I refused. I don't want to jeopardize my family's future for her sister's present. Ashley was very unhappy with my answer, but I refused to change my mind. I found out last week that my wife gave her sister money out of our general savings account. I was furious. To me, this is a complete betrayal of trust. I confronted her and her reply was that I forced her to go behind my back by being unreasonable. I was angry. I ended up going to the bank and opening up new accounts in my name only. I moved the balances to my new accounts. I left in enough money for the expenses that she typically pays according to our budget. Things like groceries, her gas, etc., as well as her fun money. I do not leave her without access to any money. I did leave her with access only to money that she is supposed to spend according to the budget we both agreed to. I went home and told her what I had done. She is accusing me of financially abusing her. I pointed out that she is the one that abused my trust, not the other way around. That is on her to prove to me that she is worthy of my trust because after what she did, I don't trust her anymore. She said if that was the case, she should just leave, that she wasn't going to be treated as a child. I told her to leave then because I wasn't going to give her the opportunity to steal from me again when it's clear she isn't even sorry for what she did. She left to stay with her sister. I believe I am completely justified for what I have done. She is the one that broke our agreement. Did I take it too far though? This was the first time she ever did anything like this. Did I let the anger get the best of me? Am I the arsehole for taking away her access to the money?" In the comments, Pinebox Waiting says, "Not the arsehole. You nailed it there at the end. She stole from you. No excuse. My husband and I have a similar financial arrangement and I simply cannot imagine doing what your wife did. Such a betrayal." Our administration replies saying, "So she's gone to stay with her sister, the one who's broke. So now there's another mouth to feed in that house and she's going to essentially be the sole provider for that household out of her own money. I think she'll be back. The question is whether OP will want her back. Betrayal is the exact word. OP made a reasonable suggestion for the amount of financial help they could offer her sister's family, but that wasn't good enough. She stole from the person she is supposed to be in love with, who has supported her financially for the duration of the marriage, and then even had the nerve to claim financial abuse when OP moved to protect his hard-earned assets. He is definitely not the arsehole." Kat says, "I came here ready to think you were an arsehole from the title, but I think what your wife did was awful. You said you would contribute the same amount of fun money as she did to her sister, doubling the loan effectively, and your wife went behind your back to unilaterally take joint funds so her fun money won't be affected. You're not the arsehole. Your wife is being an unreasonable mooch. Normally I hate how quick Reddit is to tell people to dump their partners. But if you don't have kids now, it's a great time to consider whether you could handle a lifetime of this person and this behavior." Dia says, "Forced her to go behind your back, huh? If you asked her for an open marriage, she said no and you went ahead and started dating, would that same logic apply? I mean, she said no, so she forced you to go behind her back. That's one of the poorest excuses I have ever heard, and the exact opposite of how things work. Touch of entitlement, not the arsehole. Dreamer says throughout your whole post you say that you and your wife both came to agreements about her running her charity and you supporting both of you financially. In these sort of agreements, all of your income becomes both of your money since you agreed to support her volunteering full time. So my only criticism would be how you stated she stole from you, when in reality she took from your shared money. What she did was wrong, but I feel like you only looked at the situation from a logical standpoint and completely threw out the emotional part. It sounds like you did give her options to at least help them out a little bit, but she did not feel like it was enough. As another poster said, why couldn't your wife just pay back the $3,000 from her fund money in the coming months, instead of talking this through with her and trying to find other options? You guys discussed two choices she wasn't happy with, and then she went against your will. I wouldn't call what you guys had an agreement because you knew she wasn't happy with those options, and sounds like she never actually told you she agreed with either one. I think what you did in response to that was extreme. I understand you wanting to do that, but honestly, it feels like overkill if this was the only occurrence of this. If she had a reoccurring theme of using your shared money for things you didn't agree on, then I would feel like this would be a more understandable response. Like I said, it sounds like you're only thinking about this whole issue with logic surrounding money instead of taking into consideration your wife's emotional needs to help out her family. Talk to her, come up with something you both will be satisfied with. Money is all numbers. You guys just have to find an equation that fits this situation. With that said, everyone sucks here. So OP did come in with an update and says, well, it looks like the posters that commented that my marriage is doomed were correct. First, after reading the post, I agreed that it was not fair that I had access to our savings and she did not, even though she gave some away without my consent. Following the advice of several posters, I contacted my bank and I found that the account could be changed so that while both of us could deposit money, it would take both of our signatures to take money out of the account. This would give her the same control over the accounts that I had by putting them under my name. I contacted Ashley to let her know that I would put the money back in the joint account if we switched the account to require both of our signatures. She said no. That just showed that I didn't trust her. I told her I didn't. She had taken money without my consent. Of course I didn't trust her. She refused to change the account. I refused to give her unrestricted access, so right now I'm still the only one with access to the money. We also tried marriage counseling, another suggestion that posters brought up multiple times. The counselor asked both of us to say what we thought was wrong with our relationship. Ashley said that I had abused her by taking away her access to money. I said that Ashley had broken my trust by giving away money without my consent. It took a few sessions, but it became pretty clear that we just weren't going to see things the same way. I wasn't going to commit to supporting her sister's family, and she refused to give in the money without my consent as a breach of trust. The kicker came when it came to the end of the month, and Ashley demanded, not asked, demanded that I put $3,000 in the account for her to use to pay her sister's bills. Her reasoning was, since she stayed there, we owed it to them. I told her she was ridiculous, and if I wouldn't do that while we were together, why in the world would I do it now? She walked out of the session and told me that she wouldn't continue counseling until I agreed. I contacted a lawyer and filed for a legal separation and will be filing for a divorce. I found that I am legally obligated to pay usual and ordinary bills of the household, but I'm not required to pay any bills for where she moved to since she left voluntarily. So I'm doing what I am required to, including things like paying for a car insurance and cell phone. But I'm not giving her access to any other funds. She has asked, more like demanded, I give her money as she will be getting it when we divorce. But I don't have a way of making sure whatever she has given comes out the final settlement, so I'm refusing. And to be totally honest, I'm not shocked at all about that outcome. I mean, I think at the start of this one that OP was, considerate. OP came up with some compromises, was going to use his fund money, her fund money to help the sister-in-law, but it just wasn't good enough. And so she took this money without any further discussion, and that was it. And once that trust is broken, where do you go from there? Especially with the way that OP spoke towards the end of the first post, it sounded like very relationship ending language to me, but I don't know, what do you guys make of this one? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. There was a few "you're the arseholes and everyone sucks" there on the post as well. Let us know your thoughts and let's move on to another one. Now, our next story has a tiny little update on the bottom of it, but an update nonetheless. It's from TA191210 and says, "Am I the arsehole for telling my soon-to-be mother-in-law that my engagement ring is cursed? Dun, dun, dun. I, female 26, just got engaged. My soon-to-be mother-in-law is a nightmare. We're currently renovating a part of our place, and she has been lent a key in the meantime because she keeps coming over uninvited under the guise of helping clean up. But she really just likes to snoop and interfere. I do martial arts and take my engagement ring off before class. I came home from an afternoon class one day and my engagement ring was not in the jewelry dish that I usually leave it in. I asked her about it and she told me that she'd taken it to a jeweler to get it cleaned. She looked super smug about it, and when I asked which jeweler, she pretended she couldn't remember. I didn't want to give her the satisfaction of having a reaction to it, so I just let it slide for a couple of days. A couple of days pass and I ask her about it again, and she's super vague, still pretending she can't remember which jeweler and saying she's too busy to pick it up anytime soon. So I said, wow, I really feel for that jeweler. Hope nothing happens to her. She asked what I meant, and I told her that my superstitious Brazilian grandmother had performed some traditional ritual on it that's usually known to curse anyone who takes or handles the ring other than the owner. She looked uneasy and asked me a couple more questions about this ritual, and I made some story up about how my mother's ring had been taken by a burglar who was crushed by a pillar of cement on his way out of the house. I totally made this entire ritual up, and I do have a Brazilian grandmother, but obviously she did not do some ritual to my ring. The next day, my fiance told me while I was out that she was there to clean up a bit. Lo and behold, I get home, she had already left, and find my ring where I had left it. It didn't look any cleaner than it had before, lol. A week later, I received an abusive call from her saying she had been in a minor car accident and she was blaming me and my witch doctor grandmother, saying she was now cursed for having touched it. I passed the phone to my fiance who tried to calm her down, but she was hysterical. I told my fiance what I had told her, and he scolded me a bit because we both know how she is, and I should have known she'd react this sort of way. It's been a further week since then, and she refuses to talk to me and keeps slandering me to my fiance. Overall, he recognizes how ridiculous she's being, but the drama of the situation is making me wonder if the whole curse tale was taking it a bit too far. So, am I the arsehole? First, make sure she hasn't got a key anymore and she's not snooping around your place. And look, actions have consequences. This is all on her at the moment. She took the ring in the first place, and that is simply it. It's all on her. TN Scatterbrain says, "Not the arsehole, that's hilarious. The nerve of her taking your ring. She deserves the curse. I'm just sorry it's causing trouble for you. I kind of think your fiance earned it by tolerating her behavior and not having changed the locks already. Also, have you checked your ring? I don't understand why she'd take it unless it was to keep it away from you. Does she disapprove of the engagement or of you taking it off, even if it's for good reason? Was she going to swap stones or claim to have lost it? I really need to know her motivation for taking it. You might want to come clean before she meets your grandmother at the wedding though." Opie replied saying she's never vocally disagreed with the engagement, but she's definitely interfered. "I personally think it was just to mess with me or keep it from me. I really don't know. I don't think she ever even took it to a jeweler, to be honest." Also, I was side-eyeing the fiance in this as well, just because a couple of little comments were sneaking in. It was almost a bit like, that's just how my mum is, leave her alone, don't be so hard on her, that's just how she is. OK Scientist says, "Not the arsehole, you should tell her there's no way she could even been cursed since she took the ring with good intentions, and the curse only curses people with bad intentions. The reason you were worried about the jeweler is because some jewelers will steal things and swap them out for fake stones, and you didn't know how honest the jeweler was because you didn't know them at all. I bet she chokes on her own lies rather than admit she stole it to steal it." And one more comment that says, "Sorry, she stole your ring but you tricked her into giving it back. Was she just not going to give it back? Like ever? If anyone should be pissed, it should be you. If it were me, and I was feeling petty, I would ask her what cleaner every time you see her. Since she went back and got it, so she must have remembered. Say you have a couple more things you want to get cleaned and want to go to someone trustworthy, and you can drive with her there if she can't remember the name. So OP did come in with that little update and says, I really did not expect this sort of response to this post. Thank you all so much for the awards. Fiance and I had a big chat and he's admitted he has to step up when it comes to his mother. He retrieved her key an hour ago and told her not to worry about the curse because it would have no effect on anyone who touched it without malicious intent. Big thank you to the commenters who suggested that absolute gold approach. And again, it's one of those stories that I would have loved to have seen an update further down the line because, you know, when you got a future mother-in-law like that, life's always going to be interesting, right? Or a pain in the ass, one or the other. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from a throwaway account that says, am I the arsehole for requesting a doctor that is more fluent in my language? This is a throwaway account and I'm on mobile, so excuse my formatting. Also, I'm not a native English speaker. Important background info. I'm autistic and have ADHD. Due to this, I have some problems with auditory processing, aka I can hear just fine. Sometimes my brain just refuses to process the information. It feels like you're being spoken to in a language that you didn't speak. My APD, auditory processing disorder, acts up more with certain ways of speaking. Examples, stuttering or unusual speaking rhythm are very hard for me to understand. The problem arose when I got a new psychiatrist. He is not native to my country, which I do not have a problem with, but he doesn't speak my native language very well. I've seen him once now and it was a disaster. I understood maybe half of what he was saying. My brain just short-circuited and the whole time I felt like I was an idiot asking, sorry, could you repeat slower and could I get that in writing? The whole hour. We got nothing done and it left me almost crying and having trouble speaking myself. ASD messing with my whole language processing. I went straight to reception and told the lady, I would like to request a new doctor. She asked me why, and I told her that I couldn't understand the one that I'd been given. She checks my info and just huffs. She, in a very cold tone, says, I can understand him just fine. We don't let patients pick their doctors on racial bias. I'm just shocked. I didn't even consider him being not white. This is a very white country, I might add. I'm already really anxious, so I start crying and say that I just can't continue seeing him over and over again. People are looking at us, and I can't help it, and the lady is getting more annoyed with me. She says there's nothing she can do for me, and that it's a very asshole move of me to make such a scene, and that she won't be helping me anymore. She did not use those words, but I can't remember what she said exactly. I went to the bathroom to finish my crying and called my mum. She agreed that I should get transferred to another doctor, but that it's my fault for not being clear of my reasons. I later got an email from my doctor that he is sad that I feel like I can't work with someone like him. But at this moment, I could not be transferred. He expressed that I had hurt him and that I was in the wrong. Now I'm wondering if I really am the arsehole. Blue Jay Fisher says no one's an arsehole here, but you should have been clear when you asked to switch. It would have absolutely have sounded to this woman like his race was a factor, and you did nothing to contradict that. A simple, I have APD and require a doctor who has as little accent as possible would have made things clearer. It's not this lady's fault for assuming the most obvious thing. Opie replies saying, after I'd calmed down, I thought about this, and my mum said this as well. But I can't help feeling like she was unreasonably mean to me. I was already visibly upset and almost crying when I went to the reception. And what I said, if translated more like word to word, was, I cannot understand my doctor's way of speaking. I don't think I was being rude, but I can't be sure as I'm not good at recognizing those kind of tones. I'll probably email my doctor and explain since he is a specialist in my conditions and will maybe understand better. Starting again says not the arsehole. The hard part is that you were very clear in your post, but here it sounds like you didn't tell the receptionist why you wanted a new doctor. It is perfectly reasonable to want one that you can communicate with directly without having interference with your language processing. The receptionist sounds like a dolt that made an assumption that you were asking for an entirely different reason. Find someone else at the medical office that you can communicate with and make sure they know why. I think the majority of the comments went along those lines, that of course you should have a doctor that you can understand with what you've got going on with your APD, but probably the approach on this wasn't ideal. But OP did update and says, I must start with thanking everyone for commenting. It made me feel so much better that the people here had the patience to explain what might have gone wrong and give advice, as I really had a hard time figuring the whole thing out. I emailed my doctor the next day and explained the situation. In short, I told how my APD makes it hard for me to understand him, and that I was really overwhelmed after my visit, so I couldn't explain myself properly. I also expressed that it made me feel awful that I'd been put in that position, and that his feelings had also been hurt as a result. Luckily, the doctor was really understanding in his reply and apologized on behalf of himself and the receptionist. He then went on to agree that my reasonings are indeed valid and that we were not a good doctor-patient match. He said he will work everything out and apologized once more. I'm glad to say that everything was resolved, and I even received an apology card from the receptionist. My new doctor is a very nice lady whom understands me and my problems extremely well. I decided not to escalate as everything worked out in the end, and all offending sides were sincerely sorry. Thanks to everyone who commented and helped me figure this out. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.